So welcome everyone to the wine dev room for the folks who are new. I think Eric made his pitch for the name tags. We're trying to push FOSDEM to have name tags, so please come get one. And what we're going to talk about in this next 30 minutes or so, or 25 minutes, is the wine test framework. There's a couple of areas there. And I'm going to try to briefly give an overview of the wine test framework, and then these guys are going to make fun of me because I'm going to get it wrong. That'll be entertaining for them, so that works. And then I think Francois is going to go in more detail with the new test bot and some of the situations there. So very briefly, for those of you who don't know, wine has a very rich and mature set of unit tests for Windows. So there's a very powerful set of, I don't know how many tests there are now, but it's thousands, right? It's, so every Windows API has a test that goes with it. And in fact, we had VMware uses the wine test framework to verify that their Windows runs correctly. So it's how they prove that a Windows VM is running right, is because the wine test runs to completion. It's a very powerful set of tools, and it's most commonly done by running just make test, or that's how the developers do it. But there is also a Windows executable that is created that you can download and you can run. And that executable runs essentially the equivalent of make test, and then it uploads its results to test.winehq. So I wanted to show test.winehq.org first. Yeah, and this is the point of today, you wine developers, and anyone else who wants to help, is we're in atrocious shape right now. Our testing... What? I'm sorry, what? Yeah, he didn't want to show this page, did he? So last year, there was a lot of green on the board, and we were celebrating how much green there was. So this is showing, geez, we're at 10% failures. Why are we failing so badly? Do we have any idea?
No one checks these pages, so I don't.
There's no direct link to that one, so we'll look for it.
Yeah, but we all know where it is. Every single wine developer here knows about this page.
Direct music is all green.
And that's all you know is your area. So, and what's unfortunate is this is actually this is horrible, you guys. This is horrible, because we were on a path to all green, and now we've backslid. Okay.
Probably Alexander's too nice and still accepts patches that break the test, so.
Yeah, I don't know. We need to, all right, we need to get on. Yeah. Yeah, and we didn't have the make test lecture. All right, well, this is the make test lecture, okay? So I want green next time we meet. So, and actually, in all seriousness, for any of you that have laptops, one of the things we are hoping to do, what we traditionally do at a WineConf, is we will look at the make test status, and then we will have a session, where that session is scheduled for 4 this afternoon, where we'll kind of look at some of the common tests and see if we can squeeze some of these out. So, and I see that technology has moved on, and it used to be at WineConf that everyone had a laptop, and that's no longer the case, which is interesting. So get running make test on your tablets and your phones, all right? And then we'll be correcting that. So for any of you who are new to wine, can we go to you can do something very useful there's a simple executable you can download, and if you have wine installed, a git build of wine, you can download and run this executable, and then it will automatically upload to the web page, and it generates great statistics for us. So you're showing some detail. Okay, so there's some green. Okay, so we can feel better about this page.
And so the link to the wine test executable is here.
Okay, that's not all that obvious. There was a better page. There's a better page.
Bottom of the front page of test.winehq.
Yeah.
Okay, so at the bottom of test.winehq.org, there's a link that, is off your screen. Aha. Maybe we should put it at the top. Okay. All right, so there's another to-do. Who's going to take that to-do? You going to do that, Andre?
Okay, I need to know what I have to do.
Just move this to the top. So this is a useful thing you can do, and then after you run it, your results will appear, and you can see your results, and then you can even go in and see what area it is. And if you're a developer, you can run make test, and you can submit patches and fix it, and that's a glorious thing to do. And So I think that was the bulk of what I wanted to say around the regular wine test framework, and then I think we have a lot of talking about the new wine test bot. And to frame that for people, we, in addition to running all of these tests on Linux, we now also run all of these tests on Windows. So we have a Windows QEMU. We had a VMware system for years and years and years that was the test bot, and unfortunately, the maintainer of that passed away, which was a tragic event. And so we've been shifting it to a QEMU-based test system where we're running all these tests actually on Windows. And in theory, they should all be green on Windows. But then what's good about it is a patch can't get into Wine, a change to the test can't get into Wine unless it runs correctly on Windows, or so goes the theory. And so the Wine test bot is actually a set of Windows VMs that run all of these tests on Windows. And unfortunately, we're having problems with the new Wine test bot. So the other thing we need to exhort people to do is to help us get those tests fixed and working. I think that's where I turn it over to you. Did I miss anything?
So maybe I'll start by saying that the wine test bot actually integrates into this site. So, like for instance, when you look at the results on test.onehq.org, you have, so here we still have the old test bot, it's still active. It's supposed to go away like in June last year.
Has anyone heard from them recently?
Not necessarily bad that it's still here, but
It still works, it is fast.
Well, they're paying money to host it, and they were told to shut it down. So maybe I'll send them a further. I mean, if they want to keep it running, that's great. But I think
I mean, we can do it paid them back from the wine test fund or something like that. They incur the cost to do that.
it's really more of it's a courtesy thing. It's not. We should really. You spoke with them, didn't you, Hans? With no.
And you spoke to them, so you have the communication out.
Maybe I should send an email. I think it's time to encourage them to turn it off. I know we all like it, but
Was Martin maintaining it a bit?
he had been, but that shifted.
Okay.
So
and the problem is that having two test bots is a bit confusing. Sometimes people ask me, okay, what's up with the test bot? This VM doesn't work. Well, it's the old test bot. I cannot really do anything about it. I can only fix stuff on the new test bot. So, well. And so on these pages, there's a few different types of results. So you have results from the old test bot, it's a WTB for wine test bot. And you have also new TB, which is for the new wine test bot. So if you have a failure in the new TB column, so not too many apparently. So here, for instance, then it means you can submit jobs to the new test bot to figure out what's wrong. So anything on the new TB machine, any failure on there, you can easily investigate. Another set of results is all the FG dash on the Windows version. That's a test I run on my machine in VMware virtual machines. So you just have to know that it's virtual machines. But now you should start to see more regularly FG dash on the machine type. So here's my EPC, because I've set up a number of scripts so that now I can run wine test every day on Linux, and then it reboots automatically and runs the test on Windows also. So these are real hardware, because I know that some of you want tests on real hardware. So you've got some. So it's just an Intel graphics card, but and if someone wants to do the same kind of thing, I can provide my scripts and try to. Well, I provide my scripts. They're kind of ugly, and a number of things are probably specific to my configuration, but I can provide the scripts anyway. And the other thing which is interesting is, so the EPC is a real hardware, And you will find also on Linux, as I said, I run it on both Windows and Linux. So you can compare the two results. If it works on Windows and doesn't work on Linux, that's interesting. It's not because the graphics card is not capable of doing something. It's more the driver, Linux driver, or something in mind. So I also run a number of tests on Linux, like on my desktop, and that's another laptop that I've set up to do the tests now on both Linux and Windows 8.1. And that's also one where you see more results more regularly. So. And there's also other tests that are being run by other people. So. And when things don't work, when you see a failure there, well, if you can figure it out, it's great. If it's if it's on the white testbed machine, simplest is to go to the white testbed and submit jobs there. So the new testbed, it's new testbed.1hq.org. If you just type testbed, it's the old one. So you have to know to go to this to have the right URL. Don't hesitate to create an account. I mean, I'm not sure all wine developers have an account on the wine testbed. Who's got an account on? Not too bad. So don't be shy. You don't need to be in the top 10 of the Java rank to get an account. You need to register, but it's mostly to weed out spammers and people who want to do wine tasting rather than wine testing. And once you request the account will be approved. It might take a few hours or something like that, and then you get your account. And what you get is that you can submit patches directly on the website. So if your patch gets rejected, well, the wine testbot runs all the patches that are sent to wine patches. So if Marvin, that's the wine testbot, tells you that there's failures, you rather than spamming the mailing list with a number of attempts to fix the test, you can submit jobs on the testbed to figure it out, and you can not just do iterations of your test, you can run anything you want, pretty much. You can upload an executable, so you can really try to figure out what's going on with that Windows version. And so yeah, so we have the testbed. It's got a number of virtual machines. We try to have a number of different Windows versions. Some Windows versions are hard to get because it's server editions and it's really expensive for really no good result. So you could ask some more versions if you want to, but we may not be able to purchase them. But what you can do is if there's a feature you want in the wine testbed, you can ask me, or you can even better, you can make a bug report on WineHQ, bugs.winehq.org.
So you just download it from Git and fix it yourself.
Or you can submit patches, and it's not too hard to set up. So if you I must have caps lock or whatever. So yeah, there's a special you have to enter the bugs in the right, it's not one, it's the test bot product or some product I think. So that way it doesn't get lost. And so you can, it's quite possible to modify the test VM configuration to configure stuff so that you can, so that it's more useful for you. I mean, I can add, for instance, a win pickup to get win pickup test running. I added MS-XML4 DLLs and some other DLLs like that. If you want tests to be run on the D drive and in the root of the drive, that's possible too. So let me know what you want. Well, that's mostly it.
So the action items are shut down the old test bot, move the URLs, and then make it green.
Yeah. Mostly the thing is, so there's all those failures. I maintain the one test bot. I try to improve, add functionality to it, but I'm not going to fix the test. There's way too many tests. I don't know the code, so I really need you, the web developers, to work on it. I cannot do it. If you cannot figure out why the test fails by going on the white test bot and running executables or doing some more debug traces, stuff like that, you can also ask me about how the VM is set up, and maybe I can help. Maybe I cannot because I don't know much about what about the area that the test failed.
And we don't really have the capability to do, I mean, it's theoretically possible, but probably too complicated to do, regression analysis, to do bisects and do git blame, right? I mean, to some extent, wouldn't the ideal be to do git blame and email people that they've broken things? But
The idea is to test the patches before they are committed.
yeah,
So then there's no need to bisect after that.
yeah, so that's clearly not been working.
Yeah, and you get the source link, so it's usually pretty obvious which patch was named after.
Oh, okay.
And then I just made people.
Do you
As a
have
feature request, can we get a Linux machine that, like Debian, that Alexander sets up, and it's like matches his machine, so we have compilers, maintainer mode, so people would just get rejected if the patch would compile or the test would run on Linux or in that box, because that would be, if it matches his machine, it would be easier to reject stuff.
I think it should not match his machine. I think it should be. I don't think it should match his machine. That way we'll have two different configurations on the
Well,
test
you
we
can
have
add
to
the second one,
pass
but
on both of
you
them.
want to be authoritative. So.
No, the thing is you want to test patches sent to one patches
Yes.
before they go in.
Yeah. So that's one of the many things that that need to be done for the test bot.
How about foreign language support on the Windows VM?
Yes, for foreign language support, what I've planned to do. So yes, here. So we don't see the VM here on the home page. Yes. So we have a number of Windows Ultimate versions. What's really nice about Windows Ultimate, so we have the Windows 7 one and the Windows Vista. What's really nice about Windows Ultimate is you get all the languages. So the Windows 7 one is set up with all 35 supported languages. The prime is right now in the testbot. I have a snapshot of Windows 7, and so it's set up for one language. I cannot, so people can only test in that configuration. One of the things I want to do is to have multiple snapshots per VM, so that ultimately you'll be able to test in Japanese, in Arabic, you just pick the right snapshot and run your test and test that configuration. It's also a bit, those VMs are sometimes a bit annoying to set up. Like the Windows Vista, I don't have all the languages installed because when I install more than a couple of languages, then Windows Update breaks and I cannot install the rest. But I'll figure it out at some point when I have time. And for Linux, so I don't know. I don't know exactly how I'm going to do it. It's going to introduce performance problems, but I guess I'll just ignore it for now. And when we have something, we'll scramble to figure out how to improve performance if it's well. One thing I may do is now that I have this script that I run on my laptops, which automatically reboot to Windows. I need a Linux partition to do it anyway, and maybe it will go with adding real hardware to the wine test spot. The idea would be to have this real hardware machine with Linux, and make it so the wine test spot can submit jobs and run the test on Linux, or tell the machine to reboot to Windows and then send the job to run on Windows.
How do you make sure that the disk image doesn't change?
The idea is that what I do on my laptops is I use NTFS clone to make to take an image of the Windows partition. So it only saves the part of the partition which is used. So it's on the Linux side, compressed. Before rebooting, I restore the disk image. So it starts to compile, restores the disk image in parallel, waits for all that stuff to be done, and then runs the test on Linux, and then sets up prod to reboot to Windows, reboots. On Windows I have a bash file which downloads one test, runs one test, and just on the laptop. So I can probably do something like that and integrate it in the one test spot. It's just going to take a bit of time to adjust. Yeah.
Like for example, if I look at the page where I really want to see is all the time between fields, running on real hardware.
You want to filtering on?
Filtering on the results page.
Filtering on the result page. So that you don't see all 150 tests, but only, for example, the direct test.
Well,
Well, some source you can fix it.
I guess it's done.
what you can do is click on different line device and you get
Well, sure, but I mean, I want to like see like V8, like V9, like row, like V10.
that, I guess that can be added if we find someone to do it. Then I don't really work on that part of the site, so.
Yeah, I know. I'm not sure anyone else.
I
think Alexander wrote a revision,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. I mean, he generates static HTML pages.
Yeah, so filtering
We
will
have
be
to-
dynamics.
Maybe a bit of JavaScript to hide the entries. Then,
You could actually, I mean, you could ask Jeremy Newman to look into it.
That site is returning powers.
Well, then go ahead.
There were a lot of gray areas in the Solaris column. Work done.
Well, the Solaris on BSD results, it's a virtual machine that I run on my computer, but I'm not sure there's really any wine developer who works on Solaris. Well, there's a Austin English who works on making sure that wine works on FreeBSD from time to time. But I don't think that anyone really wants to take the trouble of fixing the test on Windows so far. So the most urgent part is getting the test to work on Windows, because if the goal of those tests is to document how the Windows APIs work. So we call the API and check the results, and then we check that wine returns the right results. But if that test fails on Windows, it means it's testing the wrong thing. So if you make wine pass the test, you're breaking wine. So you have to make sure that it really works on Windows first. So, and right now it's really not the case. So we really have to get this part fixed, and then obviously we have to move to the other platforms.
How much of that is still QMU issues?
I know of one QMU issue.
Okay.
One.
Only one now. Okay. All right. So it really is just we're being lazy. It's really.
Yeah. Virtual machines they cause some trouble for all the directory and OpenGL stuff. And they also cause some trouble with sound sometimes because of timing issues. But even for directory, I mean, a test that cannot work in a virtual machine like directory because there's no 3D acceleration, so most of the tests are meaningless. The thing is, if the test should be skipping, the test should be skipped,
Right.
not failing. So even directory tests on virtual machines, if they fail, it's bad. It has to be fixed.
Theory does it. We have hardware dedicated to running. So we have hardware sitting in a rack, cold, that is available to run these on real hardware. So if you want, we can inject that. That's available. I mean, you only have to pick one Windows program, but it seems like it would be useful to have that.
I think we talk about every time about that, every year.
No, it's still sitting there. We bought it 2 years ago. So.
Yeah, I've been requesting this ever since Gay introduced the first testbook version, and it never happened.
Well, I think it's all available for you to work on, and I suspect Francois would be really happy to help you get it going.
Yeah, I have a bunch of machines at home myself that I only use for testing, and well, it would be helpful for me if I could touch my machines, because the Windows is much easier to maintain when you have physical access. But I guess it's a bit more tricky because they're going to be offline every now and then when I'm not at home, and so on. And the power consumption will be an issue as well.
In the past, besides lack of time, in the past one of the blockers to adding real hardware to the wine test board is that I didn't know how to handle the rebooting and restoring the image and stuff like that. Now that I have it working on my laptops, I can. It's not going to be easy to integrate into the testboard, but it's one less robot.
Suggestion for how to get the Windows test fixed. I have one thing that works wonderfully for regressions, that is code freeze. So maybe it would be a good idea to get out of the code freeze only when we reach, like, I don't know, 4 or 3% of failing Windows tests. I think we have now 7.5%.
Well,
Well,
the number
to a
would be
certain-
0, not
That's-
3%.
No, 0 wouldn't be possible.
No, 0 is possible.
0 is possible if you set your mind. And otherwise it's 0.
Yeah, but then two wine calls later when we will have 0 and the code freeze will end.
I think that's actually one of the big bonuses of our stable releases. It's like, I think the big bonus of the stable release is the code freeze, as opposed to necessarily the release itself. No, it doesn't require a stable. But yeah.
That would definitely force us to work on them.
We once had 0 test failures on the test
Well, the
board.
best thing would be if the test board is reliable and Sun stops accepting your patches.
Yeah. Well, we need to get out of the ambiguity between the old test spot and the new test spot. So we need to fix that. So there's only one test spot, and then we need to drive that to green. I think that's what we should.
I think 2 test spots is not really an issue.
As long as they're all green.
But I think people see it as being up in the air, and so they think, well, it's not really resolved, so I'm not going to work on it. And I
No,
think-
the one problem is we don't have as many VMs on the new test spot. That's the one that's running white patches now. So we miss failures. And the other issue is just that we still have failing tests so that you cannot reject the patches because the test is failing because it was already failing before the patch. But we just need people to take ownership of the problems and fix them.
And also, we don't have many test results on the Mac. There's only 2 test results, one for the Mac driver and one for the Excel1 driver. And so that's also a machine I run at home. And I have a script. The scripts I talked about, they also drive the test on the Mac. So if there are more volunteers to test on non-Intel graphics cards, so that would be nice.
Well, maybe we should go ahead and wrap up. Any other?
You have a question?
One last question. I think I've seen on the test results that they didn't break because of some new line patches that were wrong, but maybe something with the machines, with the virtual machines have. If you have a look at the results page between when Windows 7 recently turned from yellow to red, and you have a look at the red ones, then you see there were no patches in line.
Yeah, that's because it's running test against the wine server and we upgraded Debian and wine server. So there are differences.
Still broken tests, they're just broken in a different way.
They were broken by the Debian upgrade on the server.
Okay, I see. So that's harder to fix.
No, you just need to adapt the test.
Those are just things that work. It's just a timeout and an HTTP request or something.
Yeah, there are a few different things, but yeah, basically slightly different HTTP response, etc.
Okay.
But the thing is, people should be looking at that and seeing that there's a problem in one of your tests, then you should be fixing it.
It wasn't.
I mean, not you personally, but everybody here.
We need a way to force us to do that.
Well, Alexander could stop sending patches until you don't fix your tests. So.
Yeah, but
I
we don't have our
sort of
tests.
do
They are
that.
someone's that are failing.
Maybe you should reject patches on tests that are failures, even if the failures predate the patch.
I sometimes do that too.
If we don't accept patches for the DLL, for example, when it has something failing, then for some DLLs that essentially means that we stop accepting patches. Like, I don't know practically anything about certificates and some Winet DL with failures are about that. I will never be able to fix that. That essentially means I won't be able to send anything back.
Yeah,
That's why it's a judgment call. It cannot be a blanket policy.
and that's why it's necessary for the original test author to get involved and fix their test. Because for our people it can be pretty hard.
But the other thing we will do in the hacking session is go through the list and name names. Make people fix the test.
And we can make it greener if we kick out the teal, right? So it will be one red.
We can also make it green, which is replacing the red color in the HTML.
Yeah, one patch fixes all that, yeah. All right, well, why don't we go ahead and wrap up? Thanks for us.